The rain fell like shards of glass against the city sidewalks that night when Emily stood frozen outside the grand ballroom of the Hilton Hotel, clutching her worn purse like it was the last piece of dignity she had left. Inside, beneath crystal chandeliers and laughter that sparkled with wealth, her ex-fiancé, Ryan, was celebrating his engagement, not to her, but to the woman he had cheated on her with. She hadn't planned to come. She had promised herself she wouldn't. But humiliation has a strange way of pulling you back to the place where your pride once lived. She told herself she wanted closure, but deep down, she just wanted him to see that she had survived. And that's when she saw him. Alexander Reed, the young CEO everyone whispered about. He was the kind of man whose presence made people lower their voices, polished suit, cold eyes, power that walked before him. She didn't know why he was there, some business connection maybe, but when his gaze briefly caught hers across the room, something inside her broke loose. Before she could stop herself, she walked straight to him. Her voice trembled, words tumbling out like fragile glass. Please act like you love me, just for tonight. If you believe true kindness always finds its way back, please tap the like button now and subscribe to support more stories like this. For a moment, Alexander just stared at her, almost amused, almost concerned. Everyone else had already noticed. Ryan's smirk from across the room, the whisper of Emily's name passing through the crowd, it was enough to make her knees shake. Alexander leaned closer, his voice calm but cutting through the noise. You're shaking. You don't owe anyone here proof of your worth. But she begged again, softly this time. Please. And that's when he did something no one expected. He slipped an arm around her waist, pulling her gently against him, and said loud enough for the room to hear, "Of course, sweetheart. I was wondering when you'd show up." The whispers stopped. Ryan's smirk faded. For a few surreal moments, Emily could almost believe it was real. The way Alexander looked at her, the way his hand rested protectively on her back, as if shielding her from every cruel stare in the room. It wasn't love. Not yet. It was kindness in its most powerful form, given with no reason, no gain. When the night ended, she thanked him outside the hotel, her voice fragile but honest. You didn't have to do that, I don't even know you. He looked at her then, not with pity but with something quieter. Everyone deserves a moment where they don't feel small, he said before getting into his car. She thought that was the end, but 2 weeks later Emily found herself at the downtown library cafe where she worked, balancing a tray of coffee cups when a familiar voice said, "You're not pretending to smile anymore." It was Alexander. No suit this time, just a black sweater, sleeves rolled up. He was there to donate books to the community reading program, the same one Emily volunteered for. He told her he admired what she did. She told him about losing her job, her apartment, and still trying to rebuild. He listened, really listened. And slowly what began as a moment of pity turned into quiet companionship. He started visiting often, sometimes just sitting at her table while she worked on the literacy program for kids. It wasn't charity, it was something real growing in the spaces where brokenness used to live. Then one day, the library received a grant that would save it from closing. Emily cried when she found out, never knowing Alexander had anonymously funded it. Months later, they stood again under the same kind of rain that had once seen her humiliation. Only this time, he wasn't acting. He looked at her with eyes that carried all the unsaid things kindness had built between them. That night, I only pretended. But somewhere between pretending and protecting you, I started meaning it. Emily smiled through her tears. And I stopped needing someone to prove my worth. Sometimes love doesn't arrive with roses or music. Sometimes it walks quietly beside you, disguised as kindness. We'd love to hear your story. What is the most memorable act of unexpected kindness you have witnessed or received? Share it in the comments below. When people at the library later saw the two of them reading to children together, his hand lightly brushing hers, they didn't see a CEO and a poor girl anymore. They saw two souls who had met in brokenness and built something beautiful from it. Because love, in its purest form, often begins with a single act of compassion and a stranger's decision to care. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still believes in second chances.